Huh?
It was in the picture, now it's not.
Is it in it now?
Yeah.
Okay. What's up, guys? Happy Friday, typical day for us. We are waiting for our first client appointment showing today. They're running a little bit late, but luckily we found a place to sit out of the heat. End of showing, the showing went well. Client was 20 minutes late. You have to kind of mitigate the risks there whenever you're client facing and stuff. Like obviously factors come up, you have traffic, you have, whatever else is going on. But now we are running to our next appointment, and we're really big fans of stacking appointments. So our next 2 appointments are going to be in the same place. So that is where we are headed now. We'll just do waters. Thanks. So we are at our lunch appointment. Super excited for that. We did some prospecting work, and then before that I had a conference call with one of our service providers, which was really great, super quick. After this, we're going to grab a coffee, sit down, do our little coffee talk, and then you'll be good to go.
Talk to the camera.
Huh?
It was in the picture, now it's not.
Is it in it now?
Yeah.
Okay. What's up, guys? We are here at the Henry, and today I wanted to just chit chat about systems in business and what they can do for you. A lot of times systems in business kind of get confused with automation, and that was one of the key things that I kind of wanted to nail down when I was writing my lesson this week that I taught. A system is not necessarily something that you purchase or subscribe to, like a software, like a CRM, that type of situation. So a system is simply just a documented sequence of steps that you follow each time you go through a workflow in your business to produce the same outcome every single time. Hopefully it's a positive outcome, that's always the goal there. So when you think about this, what this means is that each part of your business needs to be broken down into individual workflows, and then each of those individual workflows need to be detailed into systems that work with you, that complement your strengths, and that also look the way that you want them to look. Because the beauty of the real estate industry is that we can create our businesses to look however we want them to look. And so the idea is to build these systems and processes in a way that will ensure that we stick to them, we commit to the process, and that we can be successful with the systems each and every time to create greater profitability, greater lifestyle, so you're working smarter, not harder, that type of thing. And the moment that this really was driven home to me specifically was last year when we had our dream wedding. We had this amazing wedding and here in Phoenix. It was so much fun. And then we were able to go on a 10-day honeymoon in the South Caribbean, super exotic. It was just the most incredible thing. And the only way that we were able to leave our business and go off the mat practically for 10 days and still earn revenue while we were gone was by systemizing our business. I mean, in fact, I think that we even put a deal for an investor into escrow and closed escrow while we were gone. So we earned this awesome big fat commission check while we were on our honeymoon at the pool drinking a margarita or whatever. Obviously a lot of work had to go into our business in order for us to achieve something like that, and there were a lot of systems running automatically in the background for us to achieve that, but we took the time up front to invest in our business in order to document how those processes needed to look for us to have an outcome that positive with as little effort as possible. So that's the whole idea behind systems. And in the blog post that I wrote, we have 5 really simple steps that you can get started to do this with your business today. And so it all starts with defining what a system is, and I think we did that. Remember, a system is just a documented process or procedure or a sequence of actions that you take each and every time you go through a workflow in order to produce the same outcome. Hopefully it's a positive outcome, right? So once you understand that, it just goes to the next step of writing out and identifying the workflows in your business that need to be systemized. And this will take you probably an hour or two to actually do. And so what you need to do is you need to look at your business and look at all of the actions you take in your business in a given week, or a given month, or even a given quarter, right? Because there are all these different things that you have to do at different times to make sure that your business doesn't fall apart. And so when we think about areas in your business that can be systemized, we want to think about the big ones first, right? So we go through the processes that are included with lead generation. We think about the prospecting, the networking, the marketing to your database, and so on. And then we also want to think about your marketing and branding activities, your admin activities, your transaction management activities, and lead management activities as well. So you consider follow-up, you consider touching base, converting leads, things like that. Those are all workflows that also need to be systemized. And so when you go through all of these different areas of your business and you write down a list of each workflow that you might initiate more than once, you then have a list of like 30 different areas that you can systemize in your business. And when you line it out like that, it gives you a really great bird's eye view on all of the activities you might be interacting with during the week. And at that point, then you start documenting your systems. So step 1 is defining, step 2 is identifying these different workflows that need to be systemized, and then step 3 is actually going out and documenting the systems, how you want them to look. So for example, if I need to document my lead generation activities, for me, let's say I know that each workday I need 2 hours of prospecting time for lead generation. And this might include cold calling leads and following up on database leads. Okay, so we have cold calls and then we have warmer leads, which are database. So how exactly does that process need to look in order for me to know that I've completed that task? So you want to get really detailed here. You think about, when does this prospecting need to take place? Where do I want to be when I'm prospecting? What materials do I need? Do I need cold calling lists? Do I need scripts in order to kind of have prompts to speak to leads about? And so on and so forth. And then one of the most important parts about documenting the system is what's next. So what the hope is that you have good prospects that can then be converted into clients. So when you reach a lead and they are ready to set an appointment with you, what is the next step, right? So you go from A to Z throughout that entire process, and then when Z hits, when you hit the end of the process, you want to identify the next steps, which will then lead you to another workflow that needs to be systemized as well. And so you need to spend a couple of hours going through each workflow that you have and detailing these systems step by step. So then step 4 is implementation. You now have all of these checklists, all of these step-by-step plans, things of that nature. You need to begin implementing them and decide exactly how you'll keep yourself accountable in completing these tasks. And there's a couple of different ways that you can do this as well. And again, you want to choose the ways that you do this in a way that you know you'll be able to stick to, right? So you might have all of your checklists and systems and step-by-step plans into organized folders on your Google Drive. So anytime you go to prospecting, you pull up your prospecting folder, you go to your lead gen system, and then you go through the steps each and every time. Or maybe you're a pen and paper kind of person. You want to have your checklist printed off, you want to keep it on your desk next to you, and literally check off each step as you go through the workflow. There's a lot of ways that you can then automate this, but we don't want to get there yet. We just want to decide exactly how you're going to access this information and then act on it, okay? So you'll want to spend some time doing that, and that's step 4. So step 1 was defining the systems, step 2 was identifying workflows that can be systemized, and then step 3 was documenting the systems, step 4 was implementing, okay? So here is where a lot of your work is going to stop, because remember, not all systems are automated. So as we move on to step 5, we have automation and delegation. And this is where we need to look at the work and figure out which work can be automated or put into a software to where it happens automatically at a certain time of your choosing. anything that can't be automated should then be delegated if it doesn't have to be done by you specifically, but we'll get there in a second. So when we think about automation, the first obvious thought is a CRM. So a CRM can take off a lot of your drip campaign work. It can take off just most of your transactional communication. It can take off lead follow-up, lead nurture, as well as retargeting for past clients and Sphere, right? So what a lot of agents tend to do is they go for the CRM first, and they look for what is the best CRM on the market, what's the best CRM for me. They go around and they ask all the other agents in their office, what CRMs do you guys use? You don't even want to start thinking about a CRM until you've completed steps 1 through 4. Okay, so now that you know exactly what needs to be automated, because you have this whole list of systems and documentation that you can actually look at, that's when you need to determine what your CRM needs to be. So when you're considering different CRMs, you don't want to overpay for something that has a ton of bells and whistles that you're not ready to implement yet. Maybe you're a newer agent and your systems are pretty basic and you don't have a huge amount of workload, so a more introductory level CRM, something like Lion's Desk, might be better for you. Or maybe you've just spent 30 hours documenting your entire workflow behind your entire business, and you need the Cadillac of CRMs that's going to take off 40% of that work for you immediately because you have 200 active leads that you're constantly working, something like that. Again, you don't know where you are on that spectrum until you've done all of the work of identifying, documenting, all of that, implementing, until you can actually figure out what CRM is right for you. So as you're determining what your sequences actually look like, that's when you want to start looking at your CRMs. The other automation tools you might want to consider are task management systems. So there are so many systems out there that are available, and a lot of them are free. So Google Task just opened up. Actually, I think they launched this year. And Google Task is just simply a task reminder system. So it sends you reminders. It's almost kind of like a checklist app, but it integrates with your Google Calendar, which is also awesome if you are a Gmail user and you have all of your appointments in Google Calendar as well. So you want to look at something like that, or you can use something a little more robust like Asana. And now I'm a big fan of Asana because you can also template out your lists in a way to where if you have the same system for each transaction or each client nurture sequence or whatever it is, you can actually create a templated list and load it up for that individual process each and every time. And it takes all of the guesswork out of building out those client relationships, closing out the transaction all the way from client to close, whatever it is. So again, that's Asana. And I know other agents really enjoy using Trello as well. So Trello is kind of similar to Asana, just a task management system. It's done in a sort of different format. You kind of just have to play around with both and figure out which one you'll actually use and actually stick to. That's the most important thing. Which systems out there or which automation systems out there will you actually know that you can commit to and use each and every time? So that's automation. You want to go through all of your tasks and really ask yourself, is there a software or a service out there that I can hand this off to? Okay? Anything you can't automate that you don't have to do specifically then falls into the delegation category. And an obvious first step here is to think about transaction coordinators. So transaction coordinators are a great first hire, whether you have a team or you're just a lone agent. And they take off so much of that due date work, that transaction work, all of kind of the heavy lifting, the monotonous kind of stuff off of your plate. And typically transaction coordinators will only pay per transaction, so it's an easier investment up front, especially if you're still kind of starting out. So you can always look at a transaction coordinator, and then over time as your business grows and your business becomes more profitable, you then look at bringing on team members like an assistant or a showing agent. You can also look at graphic designers if you're creating a lot of content in your business, which you should be. We're in 2018. If you're creating a lot of content for your business, things to hand out to your database, or Facebook advertising, or blogging, or maybe even a YouTube channel. You can bring in people there to help assist you with the graphic design work, the content ideas, things like that. You only are able to start leveraging these other people once you have these systems in place. So think of how easy an onboarding experience is when bringing on a new assistant when you already have her entire job description detailed out in your system documentation, right? And the whole point of doing all of the heavy lifting of putting your systems in place is so that you can actually start generating the revenues and the profits that you need to start scaling your business and growing. So that's just something that you want to keep in mind here. That's why steps 1 through 4 are so important before you get to step 5 of automation and delegation, because if you don't have anything to automate or to delegate, you shouldn't be investing in those areas. You need to be investing the time into actually detailing how your business needs to look for it to be profitable. So then as you move forward, your most important system is going to be your CEO time. And your CEO time needs to be scheduled every single month. So every single month, hopefully on the same day or the same day of week or the same place, same time, you're scheduling time to go through and monitor your systems. You want to go through and see what's working and what's not. You want to double check on your drip campaigns and your CRM, make sure things are firing when they should be firing. You want to see what kind of ROI you're getting through your marketing and branding systems. You really want to be tracking these metrics to see what's working and what's not, because what's going to happen is your business changes and evolves over time. And you need to really have a handle on what that looks like from your system standpoint, because if you have a weak infrastructure that isn't growing and strengthening as your business grows and strengthens, the entire framework is going to crash down. Okay, so you really want to make sure the most important system you have is every month spending some CEO time, at least 30 minutes to an hour, just kind of double checking on everything, tweaking where you can tweak, improving where you can improve, or eliminating whatever you can eliminate. And so that's the most important step going forward. But to recap, we have step 1 of identifying your systems. You want to identify and define exactly what systems actually are. And then step 2 is identifying the workflows that can be systemized. You want to itemize every task or workflow or process you engage in throughout the week and determine whether or not they can be systemized. Most all of them can. And then when we have step 3, we have your documentation. You are literally writing out step by step exactly how that sequence needs to look for you. And then step 4, you have your implementation. You decide how you're going to be able to commit to fulfilling each sequence every single time. Are you storing it in a place? Are you keeping it on your desk? How are you going to access and retrieve that information as you implement it? Step 5, we have our automation and delegation. Only here do we start looking at those really fun softwares and management systems and things like that, because we need to know exactly what parts of our documented systems can and should be automated or delegated. And then going forward, we have our CEO time. So we're constantly maintaining these systems. It's the infrastructure of your business. So you want to make sure that it is as strong and relevant as possible going forward. Okay, so I hope you found that helpful. If you want more details and you want to see exactly what that looks like on a day-to-day, wow. If you want to see exactly what that looks like on a day-to-day basis, head on over to the blog. And of course, if you're interested in further education with me, you can always head over to our free Facebook group, link down below. And you can also check out my online coaching course for real estate agents, open to all markets. Go ahead and check that out. We're on the wait list right now, but it will be open soon again. I hope you got so much value out of this, and if you want to continue these chats with me, or if you have something specific that you want to ask me, go ahead and drop a comment. I love hearing what you guys have to think. Have a great day.